Okay, Darth Maul, basically the ultimate comeback king of Star Wars. You can't tell me otherwise. You'd think getting sliced in half in The Phantom Menace would be the end of him, but this guy refused to stay down. He crawled back from the grave, quite literally, and his impact on the galaxy was massive. He wasn't just a Sith apprentice, he stirred up trouble for Anakin, he tangled with Obi-Wan way too many times, and he even made life complicated for Ahsoka and the entire Jedi Order, and not to mention, he had Mandalore just wrapped around his tiny little red and black finger. It wasn't tiny. Fueled by pure rage. Wasn't just a headache for the Jedi. He was a thorn in Darth Sidious's side too. His jealousy, his anger, it literally changed the course of galactic history. And if he never existed, like, who knows how things might have turned out. But one thing is for sure, Maul never stayed in the shadows for long. Darth Maul is like this badass dude from Dathomir, like this spooky planet that just is oozing with the Force. This place is home to two intense groups, the Zabrak, which is his species, and the Night Sisters, who are basically Force-wielding witches, and his mum is none other than Mother Talzin, the head witch in charge. She's super powerful, but that doesn't stop Sidious from swooping in, snatching up Maul as his apprentice, and then just betraying her in such a savage mood. But speaking of savage, can you tell I planned this? Maul had two brothers, one of whom was Savage Opress, who was like this beast of a warrior, who did play a big role in Maul's Clone Wars saga. Now, canon, it doesn't really spill the tea too much about Maul's early years on Dathomir, but if we dip into Star Wars legends, there's this wild backstory. If we focus on the Darth Plagueis novel, Maul wasn't just kidnapped. His own mother, but not Talzin, basically handed him over to Palpatine because of his dark side potential, because it was basically just off the charts. And because Palps he's Palps, he decided to just crank Maul's darkness up to 11, sending him off to Mustafar, and then just letting him marinate in the dark side on the lava planet. But his early training with Sidious is kind of a mystery. One thing's for sure though, he was raised to hate the Jedi with every single fibre of his being, and his whole purpose in life was just wipe them out and make his master proud. So when Sidious, he finally decided it was time for the Sith to make their grand entrance in The Phantom Menace, he sent Maul on a mission. Take out Queen Amidala, but there was a problem. She had some pretty solid bodyguards. Obviously none other than Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan Kenobi. Maul first crossed paths with Qui-Gon on Tatooine, but that fight, it ended in a draw. So fast forward the invasion of Naboo, then you've got this rematch, and it was legendary. Seriously, it's like peak Star Wars. You have this three-way showdown. You've got Obi-Wan, Qui-Gon, and Maul. They're flipping, they're spinning, they're slicing. It's this high-stakes dance battle with lightsabers. Maul did hold his own, to be fair, like a total beast, and he managed to kill Qui-Gon, but then Obi-Wan wasn't about to let his master's death slide. At this point, Obi-Wan's he's fueled by rage and grief, and he went full berserker, flipped over Maul, sliced him clean in half, and then just like that, Maul took a one-way trip down Naboo's core, just seemingly gone forever, or so they thought. Then we enter the Clone Wars. They were already like a nightmare for the Jedi, but things got even crazier when, guess who decided to come back? Maul. So meanwhile, the Night Sisters, basically the galaxy's most vengeful witch coven, including Asajj Ventress and their boss, Mother Talzin, they had this major grudge against Count Dooku, Sidious's last apprentice, and they wanted payback. And Talzin, she had this wild idea: send in Maul's beefy brother, Savage Opress, on a scavenger hunt to find him. And where did Savage find his long-lost brother? Just chilling on this giant pile of trash. And it was safe to say that Maul was not in great shape. But this was kind of just the beginning of his big revenge tour. He somehow managed to survive all those years, running purely on his hatred for Obi-Wan Kenobi and a delicious diet of garbage and space rats. But being stuck in a junk heap for so long definitely messed with his head. So much so that he just went full mad scientist, and he built himself this terrifying set of spider legs out of scrap metal. He looked like something straight out of a nightmare. But luckily for him, and unluckily I suppose for the galaxy, Savage swooped in for a rescue mission, and he hauled Maul back to Dathomir. Mother Talzin, she worked her witchy magic. She gave him fresh new legs, hit the reset button on his sanity, and just like that, Maul was back in business. He swore revenge, not just on Kenobi, but on Sidious and anyone else who dared to stand in his way. He even took Savage on as his own Sith apprentice, because why not just spread the chaos? Ahsoka, being a tactical genius she decided to let Maul loose as a distraction so that they could both make a getaway. And while Maul was technically also on the Empire's hit list thanks to Vader's Inquisitors and the Clone Troopers, This guy had a knack for like slipping through the cracks. Not only did he survive the early days of the Empire, but he pulled off the ultimate villain glow up, rebuilding his criminal empire and slapping a new edgy name on it. Crimson Dawn. As we see in Solo, a Star Wars story, Maul, he wasn't just some back alley crime lord. He was running the whole operation from Dathomir, using his enforcer Dryden Voss to handle the dirty work. And then when Voss met his unfortunate end, Maul didn't miss a beat. He kept Crimson Dawn going strong. He brought in Voss's top lieutenant as his new right hand, because let's be real, Maul, he always has a backup plan. At some point between Solo, a Star Wars story, and Star Wars Rebels, Maul ditched the crime boss life and he disappeared to this creepy ancient Sith world of Malachor. But there's a problem. He kind of got stuck there for years, which is not exactly the retirement plan he had in mind. His only ticket out, though, was a certain Jedi Padawan named Ezra Bridger. Now, when Ezra stumbled onto Malachor, Maul saw an opportunity and he immediately tried to big brother him, I suppose, into becoming his new apprentice. Ezra wasn't alone, though. He had Ahsoka and Kanan Jarrus with him, who were really confused and equally suspicious to see Maul just randomly pop up. And for a hot minute, Maul actually, he teamed up with them to fight off Vader's Inquisitors, but, plot twist, obviously, he was only playing nice to get what he really wanted, which was an ancient, overpowered Sith battle station hidden on Malachor. His grand plan was to just wipe out his enemies once and for all, but unfortunately for him, it didn't go as planned. Kanan, who had just been blinded, actually managed to shut Maul down with Ezra and Ahsoka's help. Ezra even managed to swipe the Sith holocron that was needed to activate the weapon, which really ruined Maul's day. And then when Vader showed up, Maul just noped out of there really fast, stealing an Inquisitor's ship, and then he left everyone else to deal with the Dark Lord. But don't think that was the end of Maul and Ezra's weird manipulative frenemy situation. Things were kind of just getting started. Not long after, Maul decided he wasn't done messing with Ezra and the Ghost Crew, and he tracked them down, took them hostage, and then he forced Ezra to combine the Sith holocron with a Jedi holocron, which is like a mysterious ritual that kind of promised to reveal the ultimate knowledge. And it sounds cool, but their little magic trick, it showed them both a vision of this mysterious planet with twin suns. Determined to try and figure out what it all meant, Maul dragged Ezra to Dathomir for a deep dive into their shared vision. And that's when things started to take a turn. Maul realized that Obi-Wan Kenobi was alive and well on Tatooine, and cue the ultimate Sith meltdown. That was it, his shot at revenge. He spent days hunting for Kenobi, but came up empty. So he got sneaky. Using his weird force connection with Ezra, he tricked him into coming to Tatooine, knowing full well that Ezra's desperation to stop the Sith would force Kenobi out of hiding. And it worked. Obi-Wan swooped in, saved Ezra's life, and basically told him, go home, kid, this fight's not yours. And then that left the two old enemies alone in the desert. One calm, one full of rage, about to settle things once and for all. Maul and Obi-Wan's final showdown on Tatooine, it wasn't just a duel, it was the duel. It was short, intense, and packed with meaning. It was less about flashy moves and more about history, pain, and closure. Maul even tried to pull the same trick he used to take down Qui-Gon Jinn all those years ago. But Obi-Wan, he's just not. He wasn't that young, reckless Jedi anymore. He knew Maul. He knew his moves, and in a single, precise strike, he ended it. And as Maul lay dying in Obi-Wan's arms, he asked if the person Kenobi was protecting was the chosen one, and the one who would finally destroy the Sith. And Obi-Wan, ever the wise Jedi, gave him the answer he needed. He will. And just like that, Maul found his last bit of peace. For all his rage and his hatred, Maul's biggest enemy had never really been Obi-Wan, it was Sidious, and knowing his old Sith master would eventually fall, well, that was kind of enough for him. Maul's story, it's pure Shakespearean tragedy, violence, betrayal, heartbreak, and revenge, all kind of wrapped up in one incredible character arc. He started as a monster, he became a broken man, and in the end was just another victim of the Sith's endless cycle of pain. Wow, I made that dramatic. Anyway, I'm only going to nag you one time to please do all those things you need to do to please support my tiny channel, and I hope to see you in the next video.